Welcome to episode 1 of the relaunched BKnetsnation, a Brooklyn Nets podcast. Same host, same passion, a different format, and a whole bunch to discuss. On this episode, we discuss Dwight Howard's arrival to Brooklyn, what it means now and for the future, my take on the upcoming draft, and what to expect from a solo BKnetsnation podcast. With that, we say, what's up, Nets Nation, and welcome back to BK Nets Nation, a Brooklyn Nets podcast. And we immediately jump into some breaking news. All right, Nets Nation, unless you've been under a rock, you've already heard the big trade that went down early this morning. Dwight Howard is now a member of the Brooklyn Nets. We received him from the Charlotte Hornets in exchange for Timothy Mozgov, the 45th pick in this upcoming draft, a 2021 second-rounder, and cash considerations. When you first hear this trade, you automatically think, we got a big, rebound, block shots, interior defense. We got hammered by bigs last year. So he checks off all the boxes that were needed going into the offseason, saying, you know what, we really need to get another big. Mozgov was getting no minutes. We need someone to come in so that we're not the third highest team of team scoring in the paint. Biting on my own words, I'm so excited. But I really don't think that this trade has anything to do with this season or whatever Dwight Howard is going to bring on the court. There is a reason why this man has been on 4 teams in 4 consecutive years. This is not about this year. This is strictly about removing Timothy Mozgov's 2-year and $32.7 million off the books. Dwight Howard's contract expires at the end of this season, along with Damari Carroll and Jeremy Lin, and that clears up nearly $52 million in cap space. And after tomorrow night, when the Cavaliers pick 8th, the Brooklyn Nets officially have their own draft picks. Sean Marks has successfully repositioned the Brooklyn Nets organization to become major players next offseason. Major players next offseason to the tune of having enough money to sign 2 max contract players next offseason. That wasn't fathomable 2 years ago. It's unbelievable what Sean Marks has done. Regardless of what Dwight Howard brings, this was a fleecing, another fleecing trade from Sean Marks. He accomplished everything he needed to do to put this franchise in position to have a franchise-changing offseason next year. Now, already, you're seeing reports of $60 to $70 million in cap space, and of course, there's always got to be that show, my man Colin Cowherd. They already started. Kyrie Irving and Jimmy Butler, oh, they're going, Brooklyn's in play, yada, 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 blah, blah, blah. Nets Nation, let me keep this real simple for you. Pull back the reins on max contract players. We've been down this road before. We've had cap space before. The question is, do players want to come here? But before we get there, we have to get through this season. And I say that because it's very important that we're in position to where potential free agents see a core that they can come in and play with. It's great if we can sign Klay Thompson and Jimmy Butler or Kyrie Irving or Kemba Walker or Tobias Harris, any of these top-ticket potential max contract free agents. It's great that we're going to go out and sign them. If there's nobody around them to play, they are not going to come here. They are not getting out of the Eastern Conference because we have Kyrie, Jimmy Butler, or any mixture of the top free agents. Philadelphia is stacked. Philadelphia is stacked. Boston is stacked. Beyond stacked. It's going to take a lot more than that. The continued development and progression of players like D'Angelo Russell, Karis LeVert, Jared Allen, Rondae Hollis-Jefferson is crucial to any free agents wanting to come here. You're not just going to have a clean slate and say, okay, Kyrie and Jimmy, let's go, max contracts, and now we're going to build around you. We need that core already in place. Very, very important. And people are already throwing out the amount of money. Remember, D'Angelo, and Rondé Hollis-Jefferson are eligible for extensions this summer, and that contract would take into effect after this upcoming season. That cuts into your max contract capability. It's important to remember we have to have that core, and Sean Marks may not be done. There may be the opportunity to take on additional salary to move up in the draft. Right now we're sitting at 29th, probably going to take the best player available, but there's no doubt that they want to move up to address other needs, like a stretch 4. Making this trade for Dwight helps us in the future, but for the current, it shaves about $7 to $8 million off of our current, I think about 16, 17 million in cap room, depending on what else the Nets do leading up to the draft and then heading into the offseason. Joe still out there. I think he's a necessary re-signing. That also cuts into your max contract capability. Bad timing for Joe Harris. And you know what's funny? This idea of 2 max contract players, I wonder if this trade and not getting a draft pick might signal a change in directive from ownership between Mikhail Prokhorov and Joseph Tsai, saying, you know what? The rebuilding is fun, but it's time to start winning some games. It's time to put your best foot forward and going into next offseason because we don't want to be last in attendance. We don't want our TV ratings to stink. Dwight Howard's going to help with both of those, regardless of the minutes per game he gets. I wonder if Sean Marks has new direction, if there's a special emphasis on winning. Because if there is, then yeah, we can start talking about possible tandems. But I don't think he's done dealing. And I say that because I think he has a desire to move up in this draft, whether it be to acquire an entirely separate draft pick or packaging some of the players we have with the 29th and the 40th to move up. There was a lot of talk of the Grizzlies shopping Chandler Parsons in the 4th pick. A lot of talk of Charlotte possibly attaching the 11th pick. Obviously, now that's not going to happen. I think Mitch Kupchak, first of all, I think he's in love with Timothy Mozgov. He signed him to that horrendous contract and just took him back. I think they're on the verge of a full-sale rebuild. So that 11th pick is going to become very important. Wouldn't be surprised if you see additional players being moved out of Charlotte. But Sean Marks is not done. And I don't think so. And I think he'll be taking on some additional salary to possibly acquire more picks or to buy an additional second-round pick now that he's already moved one in the Dwight Howard trade. Being in position is the only thing I think we can ask for. And I'm not going to judge this trade based on who we sign next offseason, because that money doesn't all have to be spent next offseason. Okay, we can go over the next 2 years with our own draft pick, the next 2 free agent classes, and we can kind of pick and choose how we're going to build this team. I'm all for the star player. I'll take Klay Thompson. I'll take Kyrie, Jimmy Butler. We need that. But to put all the money into 2 guys, you can also sign 3 or 4 guys and help really build a deep roster. And I understand that super teams are here to stay. And I understand that it's going to be hard to compete with the likes of Philadelphia and Boston. But there are so many ways that Sean Marks can use this money to continue to build this team. Next year's draft, teams want to dump salary because the free agent class is loaded. That is another opportunity for us to continue to build assets. I don't know if this means we are going all in on 2 max contracts. You're never going to know that because Sean Marks and company leaks nothing. No one had a clue that this was happening. And then, boom, all of a sudden it's done, and we get the Woj bomb at about 9:40 this morning, and here comes Dwight. So there's many different ways that Sean Marks can really play this. For this offseason, you're drafting. You're looking to improve the team, maybe by trading a Jeremy Lin, a DeMarre Carroll. Spencer Dinwiddie seems to me like a lock to be moved at some point. I think we have a very crowded backcourt. We need some clarity on who the starting point guard is. And in the effort of building that core and showing that core off because this season really will be a showcase season for all the teams around the league and all those potential high-market free agents. They're going to want to see what we got. If they're going to come here for 4 years and they're going to take $130 million from us, they want to win. Kyrie Irving wants to win. Jimmy Butler wants to win. He's not winning in Minnesota. No one's winning in the Western Conference unless you're Golden State or Houston, or if the Lakers pull off the trifecta of Kawhi, LeBron, and Paul George. This is a showcase season for a lot of the Nets players. There's some issues with waiting to tender contracts to D'Lo and Rondae Hollis. Teams are going to have cap space next year. Everyone's going to be all in on this free agent class. There's no doubt about that. The Nets have been known to mess with some people, especially through restricted free agency. It's not going to be as simple as, no one's going to offer a contract to Rondae. If Robert Covington got $16 million a year, you can expect Rondae Hollis-Jefferson to be offered the same. Drew Holiday, max player. Are we putting D'Angelo up there after this season? Dennis Schroeder, about $18, $19 million a year. It's going to cost money to keep these guys. Now, the debate on whether or not they are a part of the core, and I know everyone likes shiny new toys, so not having them to sign the 2 max contracts, a lot of Net fans probably want that. I even read some tweets today talking about possibly giving Dwight Howard an extension. And he choked on my lunch. Pastrami sandwich nearly killed me today when I read those tweets talking about Dwight Howard getting an extension. Building this core is super crucial to next offseason and beyond. Sean Marks has a good history of drafting. That's why I'm super hopeful that he does manage to move up. And he does manage to get another impact rookie. It's important. Because if we go into next offseason, we go through this season, I do think based on development and maturity alone, I believe we are going to improve our record by 4 wins. I think that's a lock. We should have done it season, and we just gave games away. Right after Summer League, we're definitely going to have a huge breakdown of last season on this podcast, and we're going to go month by month and talk about what went on. The wins, the losses, the highs, the lows, the injuries. But if you go into next offseason and there's been a change in direction and we are star chasing, we're going to end up with the likes of Travis Outlaw and Johan Petro and Jordan Farmar if we don't play this right. It's very important that we lock up our young core if we believe that they're going to be a part of this franchise for the foreseeable future. Maybe at the risk of 2 max contracts. I think it's very important. We can't be left flat-footed with big contract offers to our young guys and us trying to go out and get the best of the best. Get these guys locked up now. See what it's going to take. I bet right now a lot of us are regretting the Allen Crabbe deal. Moving him is going to cost us, but there's your max contract, and keeping the young core together is moving him. He'll be in the final year. I believe it's $19.5 million next year. There's a contract you look to move, and I love Allen Crabbe. I think he's going to be a very good player for us next year. He had a rough go of it last season. But we know what this is like. Net fans remember the summer of 2010. I know I do. I remember Nets daily, day after day. First free agent gone. Then the decision. Next free agent gone. Next free agent gone. Amari to New York. We had a press conference for Johan Petro, Travis Outlaw, and Jordan Farmar. That's the potential doomsday scenario for the Brooklyn Nets. Overpaying Allen Crabbe. Tyler Johnson, if we would have had him. Otto Porter. That's a doomsday scenario. So this is a huge, huge opportunity for Sean Marks to decide who is a part of the future of this franchise. Are any of these players even remotely in the future, or is this just trial by error still? Are we still in the throw stuff up against the wall and see what sticks? Personally, D'Angelo, Caris LeVert, Jared Allen, to me, are the core of the Brooklyn Nets today. I think Rondae Hollis-Jefferson